Cunnington here from Niche Site Project. This is the Doug.Show, and today we're going to be focusing in a little bit more. We're actually going to talk about preparing for the retail season. So right now, I think we have something like 8 weeks or so before we hit, the traditional retail season. In my opinion, it really starts in November. I mean, it starts really right now. When I go walk around the stores, I see some Halloween stuff, right? We're approaching Halloween, but I also see Christmas trees, Christmas decorations, other holiday things out there for sale at all these retail shops. So we're going to talk about things that you can do in the short term. And if you're on my email list, you probably know that generally link building is sort of a long-term process. It's going to take you a little while to see the results from link building. In fact, if you just build like 1 or 2 links, you may not even notice anything, especially in the short term. So we'll talk about 2 main areas that you can focus on, and there's going to be like subtopics for each one of those areas. Mainly, it's going to be around improving on-site content and additionally on CRO. And that's conversion rate optimization. But it's not optimization in the pure sense where you're A/B testing. This is just getting things mostly right. I see we have Justin on, we have Shamir, what's going on. So we're going to go through a handful of these different things that you can do. And generally it's going to be at a high level. I've written them down in there. I've put them in the description. I'm not going to make you wait. If you want to go read and peruse them, that's totally cool. I am also mentioning my course site growth plan because really I go in depth in site growth plan. Justin's actually a member in the course and a handful of other people that will probably show up as well. But if you're trying to grow your site, the course is sort of meant for you. If you want more traffic, if you want to earn more, like the strategies in there basically show you what you need to work on and then what order to work on those things. The problem is if you watch my YouTube videos or anyone else's, there's endless items that you can work on. There's just a million things you can do. There's software products, there's on-page strategies, there's people trying to sell you services. And I mean, I'm not above all those things that I just mentioned, but the problem is you need to be able to prioritize it and execute. So now's the time that you really should take advantage of that stuff. We also have Annis, Thomas, and Bonnie as well. So thanks for hopping on. We have a couple things I want to point out. I always give a shout out to my guys over at Formula, guys and gals over at Formula. So this is the nootropic company that I use, and I actually just got this new box the other day. So when you open it up, you get this nice How Great Minds Think. It's a little guide. They tell you, the ingredients in here and then how they recommend that you use it. I typically take nootropics probably like 3 to 6 times a week, depending on what I'm working on. And typically if I'm speaking, doing a podcast or YouTube, I will take the Clarity. So I just popped one of these because I'm doing another live stream after this. You got to get it to focus. Come on, baby. Zip in. There you go. There you go. All right, so the Clarity, and then I also take the Creativity quite often as well, because like if I'm writing or trying to come up with ideas, this usually is a pretty good one to aim towards. So anyway, you can follow the link in the description. I am an affiliate, and you take like a 5-minute little survey. They recommend basically the different stacks, the formulas that you probably should check out, and then you can test them out. So I love them. I've been taking them for over a year at this point and sort of made friends with the founders over there, which is cool. Moving on. Oh, Bonnie's on too. Not sure if I said hello earlier. So I'm going to jump into some of the items to help grow your site. And as I mentioned, they're listed below. So feel free to refer back to it. And if you want to go deeper, because we're only going to be able to hit the surface level, basically, if you think, hey, there's one of these items that I need to get into, then the course potentially is a good match for you. So number 1, we're talking about optimizing content. In a lot of ways, you can make this very simple and just look for frequently asked questions on the topic. So you can go to Google directly, type in various keywords that you're trying to rank for, that you have content optimized around, and just look at the featured questions that they have and keep going deeper and deeper. You'll also find like related keywords in that sort of view most of the time, and you can check those out and find those questions and add those questions to the content that you have. You can also go ahead and add more keywords and more content that is not questions, right? So you can obviously look for those questions. It's fairly straightforward. Google feeds them to you. They give you the answer right away. But another thing that you can do is really check out the keywords that maybe you're getting impressions for, but you're not getting clicks for because you don't have the right kind of content on your page yet, or maybe the title needs to be adjusted. So what I recommend is going over to the Search Console, pulling the reports, figuring out, for a specific page, what queries you're ranking for, check out the impressions, export that report, and then analyze it, right? So you're going to have to go in and figure it out. There's no real shortcut here. You just have to go in, look at your content, look at the keywords, and figure out where you can patch the holes and, fill the gaps. There are tools out there like Ahrefs and SEMrush, and they will have different analysis tools. I haven't, to be fair, I haven't used them extensively. I've perused them quickly. I think the problem with those tools is in some ways they're operating with like old data. So the data in your Search Console is going to be a little bit more up to date. By the way, I haven't used the free version of Ahrefs. I understand you hook it up to the Search Console and they pull your data over. I have talked to people, right? I haven't fully processed this myself, but I've talked to people who are concerned about their data. So your data is proprietary in the Search Console. No one else can get to it. By giving data to Ahrefs, you're essentially turning over that asset. So you have an asset and then you're just making it available for Ahrefs, based on my understanding. Could be off. Again, I haven't fully processed this idea, but I do know that nothing is free. That's one thing I know. Nothing's free. Moving on to internal links. This one is a slam dunk in most cases, and so many people, even really successful site owners, don't understand how powerful these internal links are. You can add links to content that you're about to publish, that you're currently publishing. You can add links to your older content. That's fairly straightforward. You can get a VA to do that pretty easily. Hey, just link to some of the other related content. Maybe you have a pretty tight category or tagging structure, and it's very easy for the people, the VAs, to do that. However, it's more difficult to go back to the old content and add links to the new content. That's the part that most people skip. So if you have a way to do that, if you have a systematic way to do it, you will, never get behind. But the big problem that I see is people will have a site, they have a lot of content, and they've never gone back to the old content. So it's an insurmountable set of tasks, and they're like a little bit overwhelmed. So what I recommend is using a tool like Link Whisper, which I can't even remember if I have a link here in the description, but I'm an affiliate. So if you actually end up using it, keep that in mind. You can go find my link over on Niche Site Project. But the point is, Link Whisper basically makes it easy. You can pick a specific post and go to this, like a view where you're able to build links to a specific post, and they make it very easy. It's, check boxes. You can make it very granular and go and change the anchor text and a lot of the other details, but it makes it a lot easier. So you don't have to open, say, 15 different posts that you published over the last 5 years. You just go to this one screen, click the check boxes, and then it goes and updates everything in the database. Very sophisticated tool. It's come a long way in the, roughly 18 months it's been around. So those internal links usually are just underappreciated. So if you haven't done it, it's a very good idea to go back and do that. Of course, you can publish more content. This is one of the, classic ways. I think a lot of people are leaning in that direction where they just want to publish more and more content. There are There's content services that make it easier if you have money to invest. And then, people like me, my peers, will talk about the services and we'll sell those services. And, it's sort of it works, right? We see the results and people wouldn't do it, right? People wouldn't buy the services. You wouldn't buy the service if you didn't see good results. So if you're publishing content, you see you're getting more impressions because you're publishing more content. You see you're getting traffic. Well, you're going to publish more content. And then going back to the previous point, the internal linking, if you're continually ranking a little bit more, getting a little more traffic, linking from those posts to other posts, you're bringing your site up as far as, Google liking it. So we see a little question here from Justin. Michelle is on too. So Justin says there's a science behind crafting emails that get open and responses, especially for Skyscraper Outreach. Do I think in the future I'll run my own tests with that? Good question. And I will talk a little bit about the shotgun skyscraper sort of technique. I probably won't run tests of my own. I don't really like that. I don't like that process. I don't enjoy it. That is one thing I'm happy to outsource because I don't enjoy it. I'm sure I could hire people and then sort of manage the process, but I am enjoying niche website builders who sponsor the Q&A segment for this live stream. But I think the key is, well, it's tough. With the shotgun skyscraper, you're sending out emails to a ton of people and you're hoping to get that, the open, and you're hoping to get people to read that email. To test effectively, you would have to send out a lot of emails and you would have to try a lot of things. I suspect it shifts over time. I imagine the same email copy subject lines that worked a few years ago are probably not working as well now because they've been done to death. So I think they may have to take sort of a different approach as time goes on. And I'm even seeing this with podcast pitches. So a lot of people, even though I have a very small, I can't emphasize how small I feel the podcast is. I love it when, people send me emails. I've gotten several this week because John Murphy shared an awesome story, taking his site from 100K per month to 500K per month. It's a drop shipping site. So that's top line revenue. But basically, I get pitches from, really accomplished people that want to be on my podcast. And at first I was like, oh, wow, this is kind of cool. And then as I'm getting more and more of these, they're hiring PR firms. And then there's other services where they try to place these guests on podcasts. So they're just sending out emails. If they do their homework, they may listen to the most recent show or one of the shows and then comment on it, get my attention a little bit. And I can see right through their emails though, because they basically send me a biography that I don't care about. And it's someone who's like, I run an 8-figure business and I've grown all these companies and blah, blah, blah. I wanted to promote my book and I have a course and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I'm not going to hawk your stuff. And that's why a few months ago, I actually asked the audience, I said, if I have these bigger guests, like, do you think it's a good match? Would you enjoy hearing from them? Or should I just charge them, at $1,000 for me to interview them and put the show out? That pays for my time and my effort. Maybe if they want me to send out a link to my email list, maybe that's $2,000. So at this point, I'm realizing that I have the leverage here and people don't necessarily want to hear from those big guests. But if it helps sustain my efforts, then I think people maybe would be okay with it if they know they're going to get the shows that they're interested in because they hear from someone who's launching a book. They're probably all right with it. So, okay. Moving on. So we'll wrap up the optimize your existing content. And I see a lot more people are on, so you can rewind if you need to, but I'll hit a quick summary here. Number one, so optimizing existing content is probably one of the fastest ways to get a positive uptick as far as more traffic. So you can add FAQs, essentially adding more keywords to your existing content that's already doing okay. Maybe it's doing well and you could pull in even more long tail keywords. You can add more keywords in existing content by checking out your Search Console data and turn that data, that sort of raw data, into information that you can use so that you know, hey, I need to add these few keywords on this specific page. Maybe you add a section in there that covers it. Maybe you didn't really cover it before. Maybe it was just a throwaway line and you can add a little bit more content in there. Further, you can add internal links, especially going back to old content, adding links to your new content. That is the forgotten internal link. Those are the ones that can really move the needle. You can publish more content, especially KGR content. A lot of times you may have a list and it may be a good time to hire a company like Niche Website Builders to go ahead and publish content for you because you don't have the bandwidth right now. And finally, consolidate similar content. So I noticed I do this all the time. All right. Sometimes it's out of sloppiness and carelessness. Typically, that is exactly what it is. But I've published content, even on Niche Site Project. In the last 2 months, I haven't even published that much, but I published content that I already had content on. I literally published a similar keyword and it's framed a slightly different way. But when I looked at it, I was like, oh shit, I already had that content and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. It's sort of siloed off in a very nice way, but I think what I may end up doing is consolidating the content. One of them is a little bit shorter form, maybe 500 words, and the other one's maybe 2,000. So I'm probably going to consolidate them and just mash them together. But if you have been doing KGR type content where it's very long tail, there's a high likelihood you have similar keywords, which I encourage people, go ahead, publish this similar content. If you are not sure if it's the same searcher, go ahead and publish it separately, see how they react. And then if you see that those two pages rank for the same term, usually not in the top 5, usually it'll be like 8 and 9 or 10 and 12, something like that. So if you notice that they're not ranking in the top 10 and two pages, 2 different URLs are ranking for the same query, you probably need to consolidate those. Google's confused about which piece of content to rank. Often, if you just remove one of them, the other one will move up higher. So I'll repeat that. If you're cannibalizing your keywords, a lot of times if you remove one piece of content, the other one will move up. You probably should do a 301 redirect. I usually do that via the htaccess file. Gets a little hairy. You can crash your whole site if you do that. So make sure you don't mess up, and have a backup that you can restore. But if you know what I'm talking about with an htaccess file, then it's no big deal. It's just mechanical. Okay. Next section, and we're going to get into the CRO, the conversion rate optimization, but this is really conversion rate improvements, just in case you're not, doing 80-20 here. And basically, I'm not a huge proponent of CRO. I mean, I think it can be super effective, but I think people waste time on it before they should even review, CRO and actually doing true A/B testing. Super effective, but yeah, I'm just not super into it. But what I normally do is most stuff mostly right. All right. I'm not trying to do everything perfectly. I'm just trying to get most things kind of in the right spot. And it seems to be doing okay. There's probably about 10 things or so people make classic mistakes. I'm going to hit a couple of them here, and you could probably, search back on live streams and hear me talk about this sort of stuff in more detail, but I'm just going to hit it at a high level. And we got Dan on. We have cheesecake, one of my favorite desserts, Vince and Michelle. So thanks everyone there. And people are a little riveted. Well, there's not much chatter, so I assume that you're riveted, which is fantastic. You can let me know where you're from. Oh, and I didn't see Justin and David and the doctor as well. So I guess I jumped in and I just started talking here. So CRO. There are some things that people goof up. These are classic things and areas where when I go and audit someone's site, usually there's like 1 to 3 of these items that I've listed here where someone has done a poor job. By changing those, they essentially improve their conversion rate and earn more money with the exact same amount of traffic. In my opinion, I would probably, I listed these number 1, number 2, optimize existing content, and then CRO. You can put them in a different order if you want, but for me, I would try to boost that traffic. I would try and boost the rankings as quickly as possible and then go back and optimize. It really doesn't matter. Both of these things, thank goodness, are fairly quick to do. Optimizing the content does take a little bit longer, but it may take longer to see the results too. It's still pretty quick, usually under a week, but I mean, the fact is if you can get more traffic, things are going to be good. And then if you can get more of those people on your site to make a purchase or make it easier for them to get over to Amazon or whatever affiliate program you're working with, then you're going to be in good shape. Number 1, better CTAs. That's a call to action. Usually people suck at these. People are terrible. They go to some other website and they see what the other website is doing. May not be a great website. You may think it's a good one, but then they're doing a shitty job. So when you copy what someone else is doing poorly, then you're also going to do poorly. So some of the calls to action I like to have are just a text call to action. And you want to tell people what's going to happen when they click the link. You want expectations to be lined up. You don't want someone to click a link and then think, oh shit, I'm over here on a page that I did not expect to go to, and I want to go back to where I was. It's a poor user experience and it's easily avoidable. So I typically say, click here to get more details at Amazon. Click here to check the price on Amazon. Check the latest price on Amazon. You don't want to say, don't say this, best price on Amazon, because you don't know if it's the best price. So you can't give that superlative. You can't give that exact phrase. You can't say, here's the best price on Amazon, because you just don't know if that's the best price. So you have to be careful with that sort of thing, but you can say, check the price, check the latest price. You could fill in other variations of that. One awesome one, which I've listed specifically because it's pretty good. I listed it last year. It is, you could check reviews. Click here to check reviews on Amazon. And all you have to do is go to the product, go to the review page of the product, and then use your site stripe to get a link to the review page. People like to see reviews. They want to hear real owners talking about the product. If you tell them specifically where they're going, see real owner reviews on Amazon, that's fantastic. That is a great call to action. It's not salesy. They don't feel like you're trying to trick them into purchasing the product. You're just trying to get them information, and it's an affiliate link, which is great. You want people just to go to Amazon and then fall into that trapdoor, and they're going to go make purchases. So better CTAs, one of the best CTAs is check out some reviews on Amazon from real owners. Early CTAs, so this is a sort of separate, but you can bury your affiliate link too far. In fact, I had someone email me the other day, a brand new student. Actually, they enrolled in multi-profit site after I answered their questions. So they checked out some videos and they were like, hey, Doug, got a few questions. I think maybe I want to hire you for consulting. I'm not really sure where to put the affiliate links on my content. I think I heard you say put it kind of near the bottom or something. Well, which I say the opposite, right? So the person misunderstood or caught like one phrase or something. So I told him, actually, no, you want to have a call to action early. I recommend you have it in the first 200 words or so, kind of near the top. You want it, I mean, I put it either in the first paragraph or very close to the first paragraph. I want it to be in the top 20% of the page. The reason why is people don't make it down very far. So if you bury your affiliate links, this is like one of the number one issues I see new affiliate marketers do. They will bury their affiliate link all the way at the very bottom, which, all right, how many people scroll all the way to the bottom and read the whole thing? Not that many. I don't know the percentage. I don't even do the heat map things, but I can tell you not that many people make it down. You can, look at other people's analysis on that, but essentially put it at the top. And most of the things that I'm telling you, I went and I analyzed best in class sort of websites. So Wirecutter, before the Sweet Home merged and they put those brands together. Then you have Outdoor Gear Lab, Baby Gear Lab, fill in these other huge companies. They have a call to action in the first 100 words or so. First few hundred words, they're like, hey, here's our favorite one, but we analyzed all these others, blah, blah, blah. Just go look at literally any Wirecutter review and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Make sure you have a call to action early. Make sure you're not burying it. It's just a silly little mistake. Two more, add tables. I know my man Justin, who's in the chat, has had good luck with adding tables. Tables are a great way to put a lot of data in a small area, and that's very helpful to compare items. People are doing research for this specific item, so they want to compare. So it makes sense to have a table. One of the common mistakes is either too much information in the table or just a poor formatting so it looks terrible on a mobile device, which there's a lot of traffic on mobile devices. So you need to make sure it's responsive. There are plugins and stuff that you can use, but I hate plugins, so I typically don't use them. I think at this point in time, I would probably lean on some of the Amazon affiliate and affiliate marketing style plugins that have feature boxes. You often can put something together that's table-like using the feature boxes, which is fair. A lot of times a table will get compressed when you put it in the portrait view. There's not much you can do with that. With the responsive design for different columns, it's not getting technical. It's getting hard for me to describe here. But a lot of times when you compress into a portrait view, your table will just end up stacking, which is a fine implementation. I think it's, visually it's easier to see and you can put more data in there. So if you want to use the same sort of tables that I do, I use an HTML table generator. So I just generate the table. And then from there, I just use that same sort of template over and over again. Usually it's pretty straightforward. There's nothing magical with it. It's just code. And then you don't have to have a plugin that will, it's a security risk. You have, especially a free plugin. Free plugins, they may not be updated. They can be exploited and that sort of thing. All right. Let me see. So CRO, we got better CTAs, early CTAs, tables, and I kind of mentioned the feature boxes, but essentially those are formatting around the product. So maybe you have a little picture there. The titles may be formatted nicely. Perhaps there's a box and a little highlight like our favorite choice or something like that. Maybe the price is listed if you have one of the more sophisticated plugins. You don't have to have a feature box. It's just available in tools like Lasso or Amalinks Pro and some of the other tools out there. I mean, if you wanted to, you could just create your own little CSS. It's not complicated. You actually can go to the wire cutter, or actually you can go to the tools that I just mentioned and you can probably look at the CSS that they are using and just reverse engineer it, right? There's no magic going on here. It's just code and some light formatting. All right. At this point, I'm going to give one more plug to Site Growth Plan, which if you are interested in going deeper in the areas that I just mentioned, then you should check out the course. There's a link in the description there, and yeah, I'll leave it at that. No, not a hard sales pitch. Those are things you could do. You could probably do some deeper research, but the course lays out like how to go through the process of identifying where your site is, where you want it to be, and then to fill that gap. The important part is you need to prioritize what you're going to work on and in what order, especially when you don't have a ton of time. You have about 8 weeks or so before the retail season gets starting. To rest my voice, I'm going to play a quick clip from one of the more popular guests that came on recently. And this is Charlie talking about link building on an early, sort of a younger site. So Charlie, if people don't remember, he published something like 430 articles in 150 days, roughly. And that's a lot. That's a lot of content. So here's the clip, and I'll be back in a sec.
Sure. So understanding my background and how links used to work then, I was very cautious now because of what happened then. However, I did want to build links the right way, or the best way possible for the site to grow faster. So I kind of focused on 3 types of links. The first one was guest posts. Second one was niche edits. And the last one was just building Web 2.0 links. Now I know Web 2.0 links have like the more spammy type of background, but what I did with those when my site first launched, and I'm talking my site had like 20 articles, I hired a writer for like $6 a thousand words, and they just produced original content about my topic, created a bunch of Web 2.0s that had 3 to 5 pages. And those were like my foundational type of links. Built about 10 of them up front. And then from that point onward, everything was just guest posts, niche edits, and having actual links from the businesses I was writing about. So guest posting, I went about that where I tried to save as much money as I could early on to really help with the content later on. But I reached out directly to websites in my industry and said, hey, can I write an article for you? Or, hey, this topic could really help you bring some traffic. I almost when I did my outreach, I tried to be different. And what I would first do is not only I'd introduce myself, but I'd say, hey, I have experience writing articles that can rank in Google. This could bring you traffic. This helps you because you want more visitors. This helps me because I'm trying to build a blog that has no authority yet, without saying the word authority. And people were actually pretty receptive to that. I had this one small business across the country that was actually willing to have me write a page on their website about a topic within my space. And they gave me author credit at the bottom, and they gave me a backlink to my website, which was awesome. So that was like an early link early on. And then from that point on, I was like, okay, time to scale this up. Let's get some links. And I started buying niche edits and guest posts, probably around 10 or 15 a month. Obviously, it all wasn't in one day, but through over the course of the month, I'd get about 10 to 15, probably DA authority, 40, 50 plus. I tried to get really high quality, expensive links because I knew I wanted to have like a cleaner site that just had powerful, respected links within my niche. Tried to keep everything within the niche.
Okay. Very good. And for the Web 2.0s, I'm just going to define a couple of things for folks that don't know. So the Web 2.0s are going to be like free blog sites that you can like spawn up. So it's like WordPress.com. And usually it would be like, some like Charlie's website WordPress.com, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you said you did something like 10 of those or so, you got a few pages. And these were a lot more common back in the day. And I think nowadays, I usually don't recommend it, but I know people still use them. And it sounds like there's no ill effects with what you've done there. So the other part is the niche edits. So for people that don't know, can you describe what those are?
Sure. So I had a provider that I used that provided niche edits. And what they would do is rather than creating a guest post, which is like a new page or a new article, they'd go find something within my topic that they can add a backlink to. So maybe it was a news article from 2017 on a, reputable website, and they could say, okay, rather than not having a link there, let's link to my website. And I would pay a pretty good premium for those links, but my goal was to order in bulk. So I kind of told my provider, hey, I'm buying this many links over the next 2 or 3 months. And I did get a more like a wholesale discount. But those links are great because not only are you getting your site on a high authority site with traffic potentially, but those pages already have like link juice built up. So if they're done strategically and on older websites, like you can get link juice that's been building up for, who knows, 8 or 10 years right to your site right off the bat. So it can be pretty effective. And I think that was a little element to my growth early on from those links once they started kicking in.
Perfect. For the guest post, you mentioned that you actually just did outreach and you sort of gave a different kind of pitch than what people normally would see. So I'm curious, did you send these to businesses or to more like bloggers?
So the first outreach was to only bloggers. And then once I kind of like saturated my space or sites I actually wanted to be on within my space, I kind of ran out of ground. So my next approach, and I only kind of did this once, was I actually wrote an article specifically for outreach. And what it did was it was a review type of article for businesses within my area. And I reached out to all the businesses in my area and I heard back from about 4 of them. And the question is, how'd you reach out to them? Like, I even went on Facebook for some of them and they were responding to me on Facebook and saying like, oh, great article. Like, thanks for sharing. And then I'd either reply back like, I'm happy to work with you guys in the future and, write another article about you guys. And what I started noticing is they were adding my article link or my homepage of my website onto their like resources page and like tools tab, which was kind of neat. I was getting like a free backlink without even asking for it or paying for it. And I was building some credibility in my community.
Perfect. And just to make sure I understood, so you would like write a review article about a company and then you would send it to them because it was a positive review and they're like, hey, this is fantastic. Is that basically what was going on?
Yeah, I first started the article, it was 3 reviews and it wound up being like 1,000 words. And then I started saying, okay, every paragraph I write, not only is it more content for the page to rank, but it's another firm I can reach out to. So I started doing a review on like 10 or 15 places and I emailed them all, or Facebook outreach, and only got about 4 replies, but 3 of them became links, which was great.
Perfect. That's amazing. And how long after you started your site did you start sort of outreach like this to real people, no paid stuff, but just real outreach to people?
That was within the first month. All of it was within the first 2 months, but I figured in my head there was no reason to wait on that because nothing I was doing was shady or something that Google wouldn't like. I was making real connections and talking to small businesses. And I think a lot of those areas or businesses that I would talk to, their locations kind of matched up with the first couple articles on my site. So it all like kind of made sense.
Perfect. Charlie, this is amazing because I see, YouTube is just, it's a mess out there sometimes, you know how it is, but there's a lot of folks that they're like, it's totally unnatural for a new website to get links. And I'm like, that's fucking bullshit, because anyone who is a marketer is going to go out and promote their site and network within their niche. And if they've been around the block, they have a network already. So they're going to promote stuff. Yeah, it's totally natural to get backlinks and promote your site. So it just doesn't make sense to me why people think that, hey, yeah, I'm going to start a new site and then I'm going to not tell anyone about it for the next 6 months. Stupidest thing in the world. Any comments on that rant?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I actually, obviously, since my past backlink experience back in 2012, 2013, I was really cautious. And I actually saw someone make a good point. They said with the coronavirus going on, think of all these new coronavirus websites, whether statistics or, informational, they're all coming out here. They're not really ranking for any keywords right away, but they're getting tens and hundreds of thousands of links a month right now. You think they're going to get penalized? Like, no, as long as they're credible and good links and things were done correctly, like, it's fine. Like, there's going to be bad links in there, but there's going to be so many good links that Google's going to say, this site, we have to look at it. Like, We have to see what's going on.
Right.
So that kind of said to me, like, if they're getting links like crazy, me putting up 10 or 15 links a month is more than fine. And I've actually probably put up roughly 20 links a month altogether.
And do you have any sort of like guideline on how quickly you'll build those links? Do you have any benchmarks that helps guide that?
So outside of me just outsourcing the links on like the first day of the month for that month, I really don't. I mean, when I tell my provider for the links, I say, please try and do outreach or the niche edits over the course of the month. I don't want them all in one day. But I think getting paranoid over, spacing out every 2 days, 3 days is a little too much. I'm not saying build all 30 links in one day, but like think about it. What would a natural website do? If they had an article go viral, they might get half of their links for that month in those 2 days. So that was kind of my approach, and just not worry about little things like that. Just build good links, quality links, and try and be on websites that I thought could help my website grow.
All right, that was Charlie. And if you missed the full interview, you should check it out. It got a lot of views in a short time, and hopefully I'll be able to get an update pretty soon from Charlie. He drops in the chat every now and then, so you got to always keep a lookout for that. And we're going to move over to more questions here. So quick shout out for our couple sponsors. So one is Ezoic and their Site Speed Accelerator. It'll help your site load faster. And whether you have an affiliate site or more of an e-commerce type site, if you're on WordPress or if you're not, the Site Speed Accelerator can help your site load faster. I do recommend that you kind of get your site in good shape before you try to optimize it. So if you have 45 plugins and it takes like 15 seconds for your site to load, maybe get rid of some of the plugins first, reduce the size of a few of your images, try to just get it in a little better shape. You'll probably see better results. They didn't tell me to say that, but as I hear from more people who try it out and they're like, Doug, it doesn't work. I'm like, pretty sure it's on your end, man. There's a lot of people using it, man or woman, whatever. So, okay. Thanks to Ezoic, really appreciate it. And you should check out their blog. I don't talk enough about their blog, but I'm signed up to their newsletter. They cover a lot of current events, which I don't really cover. So I'm usually months behind any sort of SEO developments. Seems to be working okay for me, but they're more on the cutting edge and covering news. I do see we have Mark and we have Edward and Anthony. This portion is brought to you by Niche Website Builders. They are a agency that helps, they help people like us. So let me switch cameras here. Boom. All right. So they can write content for you, and I'm getting a standing order of 20,000 words of content from them each month currently. And they're doing the shotgun skyscraper technique for me. They have a campaign running, and I have 8 links so far. The average domain rating as reported by Ahrefs is pretty high. It's about 68.125. I recorded a podcast yesterday, so I just happened to remember that number, which is odd. I should get rid of that. I don't need that information in my head. I can look it up and it's going to change, but they're doing a great job. They're sending out more emails, and they're going to be doing another skyscraper piece of content for me so they can then link build to that. There were a couple questions that I skipped, but I'm going to come back to them. So Ryan says, I'm getting 20 visitors per day with 40 posts after 9 months. Should I cut my losses and start a new site? Ryan, you should not cut your losses and start a new site yet. It's very important. You need to figure out what went wrong. Why? If you start a new site and you don't know what the issue was, what if you do the same thing again? That's going to be so disappointing. And you may just think, hey, this doesn't work. I'm not going to do it. The fact that you've stuck with it for 9 months and you publish 40 things is good, right? I mean, you're potentially doing some good stuff. I have heard from people who took closer to a year before they got much traction. A lot of times it's going to be 6 months when you think about the Google sandbox, but some people, it takes a little bit longer. So Ryan, I think it's critical for you to figure out what the issue was before you move on. You can go to or you could hire me, right? You could hire an expert to tell you, hey, your content has this issue. You should change these things. It could be something very simple. It could be complicated. Sometimes I won't know. Sometimes I'll just say, there's like one or two things that maybe you should tweak, but I'm not really sure. Or if you don't have the money to invest in an hour of consulting with me, then you can maybe find a mastermind group where there's other people who are also skilled, or at least are trying to learn, and they may be able to help you identify what's going on. But you need to find someone who's ahead of you to help you out. If you just move on to the next site, you may do the same thing again. Maybe you have some idea like what is going on, but you don't know if it's one of 6 different things. Pretty important to figure that out before you move on. And 40 posts. Yeah, I mean, you really should be getting a little bit more than that, I suspect. Cheesecake says, what about, and this is referring to a call to action, what about get the latest deal from Amazon? I think that is probably okay. So get the latest deal on Amazon. I think that seems okay. Like if you talk to Amazon and try and ask, they'll say, consult your lawyer. So I'll give you the same, unhelpful advice that Amazon would tell you. They'd probably say, I think that's okay, but you should check with your legal counsel, because apparently everybody has a lawyer, which we don't. We don't have lawyers. And Roxanne mentions that she says, hey, that's a smart phrasing. Yeah. For the other call to action about checking out the reviews on Amazon. And be sure to check out my interviews with Roxanne. I've been publishing the highlights here in the last few days. They've been doing really well. And then I have a full interview. Actually, there's 3 interviews on Roxanne's channel. So be sure to check that out. I actually talk about a lot of stuff that I never talk about in general, or that I've never talked about here. Moving on to other questions, and shout out to niche website builders. You can save 10% if you get the link building package, the Shotgun Skyscraper that I talked about, or you can get an additional 10% content. I don't know how to phrase that. You can get more content, 10% more, if you get a content package or if you buy a done for you site. Edward says, what do I think about the future of AI content writing? So this is one of the areas where it's kind of current event. And I don't pay too much attention. I have heard about some of the sophisticated AI that's out now where it will do a very, very good job emulating your writing if you give it sort of seed content. It's not like an article spinner. It's far more sophisticated than that. Article spinners are usually garbage, but some of the AI out there, I forget the name of it. It was on a Seth Godin podcast recently, Akimbo. That could be interesting for certain pieces of content, but I have a feeling it'll potentially fall apart, at least in the short term. I think in the long term, probably AI can do a pretty good job for most subjects, but I haven't played around with it at all. Mark, what's up? Is there a split between affiliate and info content that I favor for a niche site to diversify your income? I like 50-50. It's just a safe middle of the road, 50% informational content and 50% affiliate content. It does depend on what you're trying to do. So if you're aiming for, some people like to do keyword research based on informational content. And in that case, then they would skew very heavily on the info side. And that's sort of where their mind goes for keyword ideas, which is fine. For me, I like 50-50. And then further, I think if you're looking at affiliate programs and you're looking beyond Amazon, you're looking at software products, you're looking at other digital products like courses where you can earn a lot more from one single sale, then you may want to publish more of that affiliate content. And I mean, if you look at it, you may realize, I'm making so much more money from these, 20 posts here that are high ticket items. I get a great affiliate payout. I'm going to publish more of those. So just depends on what you're trying to do, but 50-50 is a safe way to aim. Anthony, what's going on? And Dante. Zolkornon says, can we start 2 or 3 affiliate websites together, or is it better to work on them one by one? It's better to work on them one by one. Trust me. A lot of people will think, hey, I'm a little smarter than most people. I'm above average in some way. I'm sure everyone is. I think it's one of those psychological things. I can't remember. There was some podcast that I listened to, but most people, if you just do a survey, they think they're a little bit above average, right? They think they're maybe a lot above average. And you realize the issue with that. Not everybody can be. So most of us just kind of suck. We're just good enough to we're just good enough. We're average, right? Most people are average. So the point is, even if you're advanced, you probably can't work on 2 to 3 websites at the same time. But the biggest issue is what I was telling Ryan a minute ago here. Basically, you're going to make mistakes. And if you work on 2 or 3 sites at the same time, you're going to make the same mistakes multiple times, potentially multiple times on each site. And then you're going to scale your mistake into your 2 to 3 other sites. And then you're just going to be frustrated because you're going to have to go back and fix it. And it sucks. So you're better off just working on the one site, figure out how to do whatever the thing is that you're trying to do. And then once you kind of have that down, you can work on the next site after that. All right. Paul, yes, it's GTP3. That is correct, Paul. You got it. Anthony says, is informational content that has 1 affiliate link still informational? Yeah, it's based on the keyword. All right, and Bonnie, student of multi-profit site, mentions learning the niche site stuff has been humbling. So yeah, there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of detail, and the other problem is there's a lot of detail and there's a lot of people saying like conflicting things. I just played Anthony talking about link building, right? And then you go watch someone else's video or read other content, and they're like, link building will, make you die. It's insane. It's insane. It's bananas out there. And look at this. We're already at 52 minutes here, which is cool. I got a live stream over on the Facebook side over it's in association, in cooperation with niche website builders. But you know what? I can't remember the name of the Facebook group. Not a big Facebook guy, but I'm going live over there. So if Mark, if you want to say the name of the group here, happy to give it a plug, pull some people over there. But yeah, I don't know the name of the group. I forget. There's like 2 of them over there, and there's some other, I don't know. It's so confusing. It's not really confusing, but not managing it well. Okay, we got another clip here because I talked to Bo recently, and this is when he was making about $3,000 in a month. But the thing is, like right after we did the interview, his site was sort of on a growth trajectory, and I just emailed him the other day. Hopefully I'm going to get a new like an update from him before too long, because his site did grow like immediately after the interview. So this is Bo talking about his Amazon affiliate niche site, and he also earns from AdSense as well. So we'll let this rip here. Boom.
Sure. So my current day job is I work as a real estate appraiser. Also have done websites on the side or as a profession for most of my working life. So since college, I've been building websites. It's not for myself for some reason, but anyway.
Gotcha. Very cool. And I highlighted a few of the details, but can you give us your like stats on the revenue and sort of the portion coming from Amazon versus display ads, and a little bit about the traffic as well?
Right now, this month's been the best month ever. Last month was the best month ever before that. Last month made about $3,100. That's profit. About 2,300 of that was from Amazon. The rest being from a combination of affiliate products and AdSense. AdSense was a very small portion of that. I think it was only about $100 last month. The rest being from affiliate ads.
Okay, gotcha. Well, congratulations. And how old's the site? How much content is on there? That sort of thing.
Sure. So I launched I launched the site back in 2016. Just to give you a bit of a testimonial. So when I found your channel, it helped me kind of. Your channel is one of the things that's really helped me focus between you and Income School. And anyway, there's just 2 or 3 of you guys that I follow on YouTube that really helped me focus. So last year I just looked under the hood. There was only 50 posts on my site. Now there's about 150. So put 100 new posts on the site. Put a lot more focus in Amazon Associates. So last year at this time I was making about $1,000 a month. Most of that was actually from lead generation. The lead generation has gone down to almost zero. The site is totally flip-flop now, where the majority of my income is from Amazon. So,
okay, gotcha. And as far as the content, are you writing it yourself? Are you outsourcing it?
Yeah. So now the majority of it is outsourcing. I write very little. I pretty much am in the role of editor. I do a lot of editing, but in terms of writing the content, actually, and again, another testimonial for you is I use your Upwork template to great effect. So. We can talk about that more if you want, but it's a really effective strategy in terms of finding writers, building relationships with those writers, and kind of nurturing those relationships. I think I have a much lower cost per word for really strong, really good writers than most people in the space. So
cool, thanks. I know that it takes a little more overhead. Obviously, you're doing the HR, the management, all that sort of stuff, but it is a fraction of the cost compared to when you outsource it. It's so expensive to outsource it to an agency. So yeah, we could definitely get into those details. Now, it sounds like you sort of like hit a stride in the last year, but let's rewind a little bit. You said you've built websites for a long time. So when did you start getting into like either affiliate marketing or at least trying to build a site as a side hustle so you can capitalize on the earnings?
Well, going way back to my first job out of college in 2005, I guess, I worked for the radio stations, and I started to study affiliate marketing, and I found a site called Wealthy Affiliate. I'm sure you've heard of that, familiar with that. Mm-hmm. So started learning about affiliate marketing, doing affiliate marketing. And I started, with my relationships, the radio station would run radio ads to affiliate products. And that was kind of my foray into it. Made the radio stations a lot of money, and then for some reason didn't pursue it myself. Went off to Japan, taught English in Japan, but started building websites in high school. So I'm more than 40 now. So, geez, I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't even think I didn't build. I'm basically the same age. I'm 41. I don't think I built my first site until like the first year in college or so. So what school did you go to?
Went to University of Hawaii.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you from Hawaii?
I am. Yeah, I grew up on the smaller island. So I grew up on the big island in Maui.
Okay.
In Wisconsin of all places, but.
Gotcha. Very cool. All right. So like moving on. So you knew that you could make money online. So 2016, was that the first time you were like, hey, I'm going to give it a shot on my own here?
Yeah. In terms of my own site that I was going to make a concerted effort to build out and make money from. Yep.
Cool. And it sort of didn't do. All right. I'm jumping back in because I got a jet soon. So I want to answer a few more questions here. And I think we had a couple popping in. Okay. So, Balagun says, is 15 clicks with 2,000 impressions a good sign in a niche? I don't know. I'm not sure, honestly. I think most of the questions where people are like, I did X and here are my tiny little results, the sample size is way too low. So I don't have enough information. I can't tell you if that's a good sign or not. I have no idea how much content you have. There's like a million details that are not there. But I would say at least you're getting some impressions and some clicks. So that is good. Michelle says, the KGR is working well. I'm going through and doing more on-page SEO with older content and internal linking. Fantastic. Backlinks. What would I recommend to do first? Web 2.0, guest post, or niche edits? So I would not recommend Web 2.0s. That's unless you're doing it for a very specific reason right now, that's like a strategy that I started with in 2013. So that's basically just a waste of time at this point. There's a small little segment of usage that could be valid, but I don't recommend it. Guest posts are totally fine. Niche edits are totally fine. I think you have to watch out for each of those. Make sure that the sites that you're working with are not doing this in excess. You don't want to have those links showing up on your site, you don't want those links showing up on those sites linking to yours when there's just a flood of those types of links on that site. It just indicates that the person's selling links. It's very kind of easy to see if you look through and you see they have like tons of guest posts, or you go review their site in say Ahrefs and you see that they're linking out to an excessive number of affiliate sites that maybe don't have a great backlink profile. And the one that I'll add on here is Haro link building. So I'm putting out a new course soon on Haro link building because a few listeners of the podcast pointed out that I sort of discounted Haro link building. So in a few weeks, in sort of late October, so the 19th through the 23rd, first time I'm mentioning it here on YouTube. Basically, I'll have a course on Haro link building, very thorough, but that is sort of a slam dunk. Like those links are going to be usually much higher quality. I've been really surprised at how effective it is. And the course sort of takes you through the whole process. You can try and, figure out how to do it, but I can tell you as someone who has used Haro on both sides, both as a source and a reporter, the number of responses that are sent into any given request is staggering. All right. So it's really staggering, and there's kind of a strategy to do it. Anthony says, do I know if there's a list or cheat sheet showing what retail item season is great to write articles for? No, I don't. However, I know the Amazon Associate Program, I think they just kicked off sort of what you're talking about, like a list of items. So maybe you check those out. Paul says you enjoyed the interview of Shauna. The questions were spot on. Thanks a lot. I've gotten a lot of compliments on that episode. It was like advanced topics, and it made me realize, number one, that I enjoyed that more, and that there's a lot of advanced people in the audience that, we're thinking about the same things. We're interested in the same ideas. So I've actually heard a lot more from other advanced folks like you, Paul, from the Shauna interview. She's over at Skip Blast, by the way. And essentially, I'm probably going to cover more of those topics. Same deal with like John. So John Murphy over on the podcast. I guess I published the interview on YouTube also. But basically, we covered like fairly advanced topics. So I enjoyed it a lot more than like the same old, all right, how did you look up keywords? Same old stuff. All right, last question here. Ryan says, is it worth writing a meta? I usually don't, because Google typically just pulls whatever they want based on the keyword. I have had people tell me, and this is the meta description for everybody. Basically, I've had people tell me like, oh, you should write it anyway, because if they do use it, maybe you get a higher click-through rate, but it looks like Google just kind of pulls whatever they want from any part of the page. Sometimes they pull like a huge paragraph and put like a little menu down there if you have a strong linking sort of table of contents structure within the page. So I typically, I don't write meta descriptions either. Paul says, go for advanced topic. You really liked it. And even if you have an advanced course, it would be great. Yep. And I think I'm arriving at that where it's like, okay, we can cover the basic stuff. It gets boring, and sometimes I want to hit the advanced topic. So I'm not sure the right mix or the balance, but I'll probably let my own interest be the guide. And I mean, I'm getting updates from people who started small, like Christy, for example. I've interviewed her several times. In the first interview, she had $100 a month, and I think she just hit 3,500. And it's been slow, just consistent growth the whole entire time. And I need to actually have her on pretty soon. And that covers it for today. Don't forget to check out the sponsors, Ezoic, link in the description, and Niche Website Builders. And I also, I think I put in the chat somewhere the Facebook group that I'm going to be in shortly. So if you go there, I'm actually going to be doing a live stream in 10 minutes talking about link building. We'll catch you next week, and yeah, watch more videos.